Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement. Hello again, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. I am Phillip Sydney. Today I'm very excited. I'll let you know in a little while, but let me introduce you to my guests. Today we're discussing the St. Lucia Floral Co-operative Society Limited, and with me are three members. To my immediate right is Mr. Andrew James, who is the president. Between them is like a rose between two thorns, is Ms. Emma Hippolyte, who is a founder member, and also Mr. Angus Philogene, who is the immediate past president. Welcome to the program, people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sydney, and thanks for having us.
Definitely. I'm a bit excited because it's a bit of nostalgia for me because the corporate society, when I was in the ministry in my early years, I may say, when the ministry decided to introduce floral as a commodity in among all the other commodities in the ministry. I remember there was a discussion held at the St. Lucia Beach Hotel, and Mr. Dimac was the DAS at the time, and then I was given the responsibility to be the lead person in the establishment of floral plants. And we were looking specifically at the ginger lilies, the red and the pink, and we were giving plants to farmers. Okay. And then when the farmers were established, they then give us plants in return so that we can pass it on and roll it on. And then it was a very exciting moment, and I saw coming on board the St. Lucia Floral Society, the Horticultural Society, the Bonsai Society. Very interesting times. So it's a very important discussion for me to be here to discuss with you all. Mr. James, as president, and of course, immediate past president, Mr. Angus Philogene, tell us, go back and tell me a little more about the history of the Floral Society.
Okay, thanks very much. Obviously, you have given some genesis, some background to the Floral Society. I can tell you from our inception, which we were formed in 1999, right. Mr. St. Clair, Albert St. Clair, who actually was in agriculture prior to that. I think he was the dean of the agricultural college. I think he also worked in the ministry as well. Mm-hmm. So he was, we were fortunate to have him to be the founding president. Right. And he really put his heart and soul into getting the cooperative going at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, Mr. Emma Hippolyte too was a founding member at the time. So we started in, as I said, in 99, we had a membership of about 26 on formation. And the cooperative has grown, it has tripled, almost tripled to date. Mm-hmm. So we have not remained stagnant. We have not galloped. I know the name of your program is Agriculture on the Move. But the move can be backwards sometimes, and sometimes just imperceptible.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we have done things, and we have remained as a cooperative.
Very interesting.
It has its challenges, and we'll discuss a few of them. Mm-hmm. One I can tell you immediately, in 2010 when we had the flood, I can't remember which storm it was, mm-hmm. and the valley was flooded. Right. Actually, at the time, the ministry was housing us in cul-de-sac. Right. But our office and everything was completely washed out. The unfortunate thing about that, though, is after the ministry refurbished the place, they said, you have to leave, you have to go and find
your own home.
So that set us back a little bit. One, we'd lost a lot, but two, we had to go and find a home, and in the end we were forced to rent. And that creates some financial strain.
But let me give you some good news. Yesterday, the minister said that there's going to be he is getting a ministries complex at Union. They're building right now a diagnostic lab.
Yes.
And so they're going to be using that same area. They're probably putting 2 stories on that and expanding the area to house the entire Ministry of Agriculture. And that includes, you all will be given a desk there.
Yeah, I think it's very good
So
news.
that's good news.
And indeed, actually, coming full circle, actually, in the end, the ministry then, as parents, you want to leave home, they let you go home, but sometimes
And
you
you
come
pull them
back
back.
home with your tail between your legs. So
Yes.
they accepted us back, and we are at actually Union Agricultural Station.
Great.
So we look forward to the development of there and being in a much more comfortable.
Definitely.
But we are very fortunate to actually be there. So that gives us a basis of actually moving forward.
Emma, tell us, I mean, you as a founding member of that association, give us your genesis too.
Well, actually, yes, it's interesting, the discussion about the accommodation, because, just before we came on set, I was talking about the fact that the NIC boardroom was the place that the association had all its meetings at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and even we had, there's a young lady that was interested and to give us support, and I think her name is Sandy Masley.
All right.
And Sandy was not a member of the association. She was not the official secretary, but she helped us. She came in, we asked her, she came in, and we had our meetings, and we kept the society going for a while, giving it the support. And somewhere along the line, we need to discuss that administrative and technical support.
Right.
Because there's a structure for the technical support, which comes from the Ministry of Agriculture. But as a cooperative, one of the things, and not only the Floral Cooperative, but other cooperatives, I think that the type of support that is needed is the administrative, the marketing, and there's a big gap on that. So somewhere along the line, in terms of addressing and helping us gallop, as we mentioned before, is a structure that would support the marketing and the administrative part of the various cooperatives. And I believe if there's this structure being put together as union and so on, I believe a small investment of 3 solid persons servicing the cooperative movement in the country would go a long way to cause the various cooperatives to move in the direction that we want them to move.
Great. And as you're mentioning this, I'm wondering, looking at the structure, the ministry's involvement in technically assisting and also the marketing of your produce. The thing is, it's a business.
Yes.
Okay. So where is that? Where? Give us some background to this, Mr. James. Since you're new.
I'm fairly new to the organization.
Yes.
But I just wanted to touch a little on my own readings.
Yes.
Because you have to read to find out where you are.
Correct.
And where you plan to go. So I noticed that the organization really started in 1999, and at the time it started, they were, based on what I read, there were about 18 members and about 20 acres of flowers, right? But presently, it has moved to about 65 acres, right? And about the same amount of farmers operating, roughly.
Okay.
Right. In terms of the question you asked, I almost missed it now.
Yeah, the marketing and the ministry's involvement in seeing you all move from point A to point B.
Okay, in terms of marketing, what we have started, like we said, we came in new. What we have started to do is put strategic plans in place to see how we could do the marketing. What we have also done is to activate the marketing committee. We had a marketing committee. It's kind of inactive. We have decided to activate that marketing committee. And they have met, and the idea is to not just work with our members, but to get the work of the Ministry of Agriculture so that we could move forward.
But are you all getting, let's go back, because it's interesting for me to know where we at with the Ministry of Agriculture, because that's where it began, okay? In terms of the assistance, are you all getting the technical assistance, or was there a break? Are you hoping that you want to resuscitate that synergy? But before you answer that question, we're due for a break.
Okay.
You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned.
Bio means life. Biodiversity is a variety of life all around us. All plants, animals, and microbes, and the places where they live. We need to protect biodiversity so that we can continue to enjoy all the resources it provides. Fresh air, clean water, food, clothing, shelter, and recreation. Biosafety ensures that we protect biodiversity against any negative impacts of GMOs while using it safely for national development.
For more information on the Biosafety Project and how you can be involved, call 451-8746 or 722-9252. Log on to lc.biosafetyclearinghouse.net or join the mailing list SLU Biosafety at govt.lc.
Welcome back. I can recall when we were really pushing this industry, marketing, of course, that commodity was market-led, right? I remember we had trial shipments to the UK, trial shipments to Canada, and also to the US. And then the reports were very, very good. So much so they asked us for a container a week. So you can understand the challenge. I mean, we were in the heat of bananas. So it was difficult to get farmers who move from bananas into, flowers. Or anything else, okay? So where is the ministry involved now with the technical aspect, and where is your marketing situation, both local and export?
Okay, let's deal first with the technical aspect. Mrs. Reed really was with us in the early 2000s, I believe, probably up to mid-2000s. But after she retired, I think at that time we did not have someone who was devoted to helping, the cooperative from the floral perspective. So we really, and what also happened, the ministry, as you would recall, sometimes changes its modus operandi in terms of how it uses its extension officers. So, for instance, there is this thing of, it could be commodity-led, or it could be...
Correct, yes. There was that move, yes.
Yeah, so I think that also affected us.
Yes. There was a commodity officer, and I remember her name, Portella.
Gifford.
Yes, she was the one, She came in at a time when you rightly said the ministry had changed its strategy. So it was led by commodity, a commodity-led. Yes. So there was a commodity officer for floral, and she was the one. Yeah, you're correct. Yes.
And that changed to
general. Yes.
So much so now, and part of the issues we had actually after and we'll discuss the project we have with Jeff, part of that we felt we needed someone technically to help us with that, because all of us really are farmers. I mean, we are doing other things.
Right.
And whereas we can give our time, we cannot give a lot of the time. So eventually the ministry did give us an officer, so back on a commodity basis, but not full time.
Okay.
So she's with us probably 2-3 days a week, because she has to do vegetables and other things as well.
Okay.
So I think the positive is we have that support now.
Okay, great. Okay,
and we are actually very grateful for that.
Yeah.
From the marketing perspective, as our president said, we have a marketing committee. We are working also with TIPA, because they have this market thrust.
It's not called Export St. Lucia. Eh?
Export St. Lucia, yeah.
You
have to keep up. You have to keep up with Export St. Lucia.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, but lost my chain of thought.
Yeah, but so with TIPA, what
Well, for
activities
instance,
do you have?
TIPA has helped us. For instance, they've helped us even with rebranding. They've helped us in seeking markets.
All right.
I mean, for instance, they have had programs, just as you said, in the UK, in particularly in Canada, seeking markets. I remember a few years ago, Agnes Francis had a major exhibition in Canada, and she said there was a strong interest for cut flowers. But coming back to your, initially we did get a market, and we did have 5 shipments or so or more to the UK near when we were formed.
Okay.
Unfortunately, what happened is, and that is one of the lessons learned, is that the exporter didn't pay for some
I
of
remember
the
that.
shipment.
I remember that. Yes.
So that really
Yes.
set us back,
Yes.
because we then had to use the little resources we had to, because the members did what they had to do to provide. And I think it also may have given, as we use in the local parlance, give people, some people they go. So people who had a lot of acreage, then they gradually cut back. And so
But Emma, the local market.
Yes. The local market, we have to look at the domestic market. At the moment, for the domestic market, our flowers, we try to put it the supermarket shelves.
Okay.
So I need to thank Massey for at least giving us this opportunity.
Good.
We have a lot more to do to cause more volume, but at least there is a start. So you can go into Massey, some of the stores there, and get a bouquet of fresh flowers. I need to be thankful. I need to say thanks to them for that. The hotels, I need to say some of them have opened their doors, but the major hotels have not opened their doors to our markets, to our flowers. And I believe that there is room where we need to negotiate with them. We need the help of the ministry to do that. When you look at, and when you go to look at, when you look at the cost of imports of flowers and the amount of flowers we are producing and cannot sell, there is significant work to be done on the local market to link our fresh flowers with our tourism industry. There is significant work to be done, both by the Ministry of Agriculture and by the Ministry of Tourism.
But do you all give, for example, an idea to the ministry of what's available on ground vis-a-vis what should be imported? Is there
There is,
dialogue?
and that's what I was saying. That is why earlier on I said we are having the technical assistance. There is this attention now to the technical assistance as it relates to the agriculture part of things.
Okay.
But the marketing and administrative part,
That
there
has to be
is a
strengthened.
gap that needs to be strengthened. There needs to be a structure in place. We need to be able to sit across the table with persons from the Ministry of Agriculture, with persons from the Ministry of Tourism, with persons and members from the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association.
Even commerce too.
And commerce, so that they understand. We have been knocking to try to access the cruise ships.
You're right, yes.
They come here. Sometimes our members, we have to sell flowers. I have sold flowers to Antigua to get onto the cruise ship. Yet the agents, our cruise ship agents have not heard us. They have not, no matter how we knock on the door, to give us an opportunity to reach the cruise ship. So that is our moment. I believe as persons producing here, we are farmers. We need government to sit with us to see how are we going to penetrate these markets.
Do you all market as a cooperative or as individuals?
We can do both. We have a mechanism in place to market as a cooperative, and we also can market individually.
Okay.
But I believe that that is one area we need to address immediately.
Okay.
I also believe that we're now at a stage where we have to renew our capacity. By that I mean we had to find out how much, what crops, how much is being produced.
Right.
So I'm thinking we're at the point where we now have to do another market survey to ensure that I think we need to go to be export ready, although some of our members are actually exporting, right? But I think looking at the cooperative on the whole,
right.
we need to be export ready. And then we want to know that once we get a market we can sustain that market. And that's the reason I think we really need, we need that survey to determine if we could consistently supply high-grade flowers on the market.
Well done. We'll defer under the break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned.
What is biodiversity?
When you look at biodiversity, it's all around.
I think of biological and I think of diversity.
What is biosafety?
Safety measures for our foods, our products, etc.
Biodiversity is the variety of life. Biosafety, on the other hand, involves the management of products of biotechnology, such as GMOs and LMOs. Biosafety seeks to protect St. Lucia's biodiversity. The terms biodiversity and biosafety are not interchangeable. Get familiar with these terms. Observe the biodiversity around you, the changing environment of food production and sustainable growth. Do your part. Visit our websites and stay tuned to this station for more information on the National Biosafety Framework.
Welcome back. Mr. Philogene, I noticed that the society has worked with Jeff, because I'm sure there's funding available from other agencies. Tell us your association with Jeff.
Okay. In 2013, we submitted to Jeff a project concept. But before I do that, let me just give you a little background to, even because I'll tell you the full title of our project and may seem,
great.
But the Ministry of Agriculture with IICA actually had a study tour of Central America. And that was at a time when there was a lot of this discussion about diversification. And I'm sure you'd recall there was a discussion of 4 commodities: cut flowers, cassava, pineapple, and cocoa. And that was the big thrust. So 8 farmers were brought to Central America basically to show them, and that was IICA initiative coordinated with Unome Gordon. And really one of the things there was, which to some of us, to probably most of us, was that given the scale of agricultural production in Central America, St. Lucia competing with Central America, and we've had the experience with bananas, would have a difficulty. So one of the things we thought was, for us to compete, we'd have to have a differentiated product.
Okay.
And hence the reason, and the other thing is that there has been this discussion, as you know, about safety, the environment, and all the rest of it. So we used the whole idea to come up with a concept of having a product that is produced without chemicals, without toxic, or to have minimal, because the idea
an organic
is that
product.
Yes. The reason we didn't use organic, because organic, as you're aware, is associated with food, and we didn't want the confusion. So we spoke to being green, and green in some ways is more applicable in that it's a term which is broader, and it encompasses other things. For instance, organic, you can buy all of your inputs once it's organic. Green, the whole idea of green is that you are encouraged to make your own inputs. You're self-sustaining. Now that comes to Jeff. So in the end, when Jeff was happy with the concept, they said, okay, you submit a pilot project. And we came up with greening the St. Lucia floral industry using eco-friendly processes and so on. And it is a pilot project. It should have ended, it was a 2-year project. It should have ended in 2016, but there were obstacles along the way. And we are still at the final stages of that project. And Jeff really has, what Jeff has done actually, what that project has done, it has helped us to actually bring our members together with a focus. You know, because what we have found is that there has been general acceptance among the pilot, those and others actually, although the pilot is for 10 farms, but we have included others in that project.
So what are the products you produce?
Okay, virtually, and that's the whole idea of green. You can produce products from almost all that you have on your farm. What is important is that you need to know what is in that product. I will give you a good example. I was saying at our last meeting.
Quickly,
recently, for instance, I was looking at our national flower, the marguerite, and I'll leave a printout if you. Actually, it has all of the things you need in that plant to actually become a very good nutrient.
Okay.
Not only actually for plants, but also it's actually useful for humans, because the study I read speak to humans. But when you look at the list of things, it has. But coming back to the products, we essentially use molasses to ferment leaves from everything around us. For instance, seaweed, watergrass, glory cedar leaves, just name it.
Wow.
Because each of them would have different properties, and it's a matter of using the properties in what the plant has for your purposes.
Okay.
So, for instance, and even using things like eggshell, for
calcium.
Calcium, yes, but also for snails. You could get the snail, and there are two types. One is more toxic than the other, but you could use the eggshells, and the whole idea, if you break it up, it will.
Yes, it kills them.
So these are some of the things, and the whole idea is to be self-sustained.
Very good, very interesting. So what's the way forward, people?
The way forward, as I see it, is that we need to incorporate in our strategic plan the need to meet the schools, go to the schools and get them involved. Even it means getting them to do orientations with our farmers. We need also to make the society very attractive, so that we could get in some young persons, so for the sustainability of this organization. Presently, I think the average is almost 60 years, right? So we need to approach the young people.
To energize them.
Yeah, try to encourage them to visit the farms, etc. Especially, we need to target those people who do agriculture, the youngsters doing agriculture. We'll target them to see if we could get them involved in the whole floral industry.
What about you, madam?
Well, in terms of going forward, I think is to get our people to appreciate that the natural is better than the plastic.
Yes.
I think more than anything else, the natural is better and more acceptable, healthy than the plastic. And as long as we send that message along, then the youth will start knowing that they can give a girlfriend a bouquet.
Valentine, that's what I'm coming to.
That's right.
Valentine's Day, I'm not hearing you all.
Yes, the youth.
Huh? I am not hearing you all.
Most times they focus on the rose, but it's a flower. So we need to cause...
What are you all doing about that?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
This program is the beginning in Sydney in terms of marketing. So we really want to thank you for giving us that exposure. We need your help
to
continue that exposure. But we need, and not only the youth, I mean, you gentlemen, the ladies always appreciate
definitely
a proper bouquet of flowers when you come when they get home.
It speaks volume.
Yes, so just remember that so that we can start marketing these flowers.
Yeah, well, we have come to the end. I want to thank you for being here, people. I'm looking forward for more things to come from the new, of course, the president and the new committee. So I'm hoping that we will work together and ensure that we bring back that society together again. Thank you again for being here. You've been watching Agriculture The Move. Thank you for viewing. And people, get flowers, send for your girlfriends, your wives, and I don't want to say jabals. I'm Phillip Sydney. Goodbye and see you again. Thank you, comrade. Thank you.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole Mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en Mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole Mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en Mouvement.